Welcome to the first episode of Movie Night with Desert Dog. Today, we'll be watching a production called Pheasant Land, USA. This video was made in the 1960s, I believe the early 1960s, and was produced by South Dakota Fish and Game, Winchester, and the University of South Dakota. Grab a snack and your favorite beverage while we go back in time and enjoy pheasant hunting the way it used to be. That's a classic beginning, isn't it? If you're old enough, it's like watching films in high school.
Take a good look.
That's a beautiful bird right there.
He's one of the great prizes of American hunting. Came from China in 1801 and turned to the Northwest. He's come a long way since then and has moved into almost every northern state. But South Dakota is where he feels most at home. We have what the ringneck pheasant wants, and he's here in quantity. So are the hunters.
Look at all of these private charters. I bet most of those hunters are on corporate sponsored hunts. And in those days, executives would take their clients on hunting trips. It was common practice. Oh my God, look at those coonskin hats. They obviously liked the party. I had one of those hats as a kid, but I also thought I was Davy Crockett.
Join in the old personal adventure of man.
These are definitely corporate high rollers right here.
Some of these hunters come from Dixie, where there are no pheasants, but many come from other pheasant states. And although the hunting may be pretty good,
you see that truck right there? Back in those days, farmers would actually pick up their clients at the airport, and they'd drive out on the airstrip itself to pick them up.
Why does a man leave home and fly 1,000 miles
look
to
at
shoot a wild chicken?
A commercial flight.
Mostly for the hunting.
You know, look at that. They're taking their guns as a carry-on in a commercial flight. Man, it seems crazy today, doesn't it?
Friends again. And partly to get away.
Oh, those are the real corporate high rollers right there. Baker's Life of Nebraska, probably an insurance company back in the day.
With a good shotgun in his hands. You can tell that this gentleman is here on business.
And here's how most people traveled back in the day.
Here on business,
once again, sitting on your seat on the bus with a gun. Nobody had a second thought about it. And it makes you wonder how many guys in those days told their wives they were on business trips.
Hunting coats, boots, and high hope. It's hunting season, and there's a carnival spirit in the air.
This reminds me of Yuma, Arizona during dove season.
Is one of South
Same
Dakota's
vibe.
biggest industries, and some hotels, motels, and restaurants do their biggest business of the year during the pheasant season. It isn't even unusual to find hunting dogs that are hotel guests, although some bellmen never quite get used to the idea.
Oh, hey, look at that car. That's a 1961 Chevy Impala right there.
Everywhere
it's a
you
nice,
look in
nice
the
car.
streets, restaurants, and stores of almost every South Dakota town east of the Missouri River, you see the familiar plaid shirts,
Jones hats,
canvas pants, and hunting caps.
I love those
of the
Jones
Buckshot
hats.
Brigade. Come to South Dakota just
Look at that.
for
Even
the fun
dorks
of it.
looked awesome in the 60s, didn't they? Looks like Mr. Limpet.
Well, they found willing hosts. If it's fun that the boys want, it's fun they're going to
shit.
get.
Pheasant hunting and stag parties? Yes, please. I'm in.
But you don't find
Oh, look at that
pheasants in
land
town,
yacht.
Not even in South Dakota.
It looks like an Olds
You get out
88 or
into the
something like
country
that. It's hard to
after
tell.
ringnecks, your chances of finding them are best if you have already lined up a place to hunt.
I miss those old
and
land
have a
yachts.
farmer friend expecting you. There's good hunting to be had for the asking, and farmers expect to be asked. They permit hunting, but they demand the right to know who's on their land. Hey,
Now the
this
signs
must
say
be
do
the
not
right
enter.
place.
Oh, look, a ditch chicken.
Frank and his two sons have driven
Ditch
a
chicken.
long way for this opening day, and it looks like it'll be worth it. They will be paying guests of the farmer, a board, room, and hunting arrangement that benefits both landowner and sportsman. 3 other hunters are already here, being briefed by their farmer host and getting a bad case of pheasant fever.
Yeah, it's crazy that back in the day, farmers used to open up their personal homes to hunters like this.
Farmers alike. There are states where opening day may not cause much fuss. But
From this
not
angle,
here.
that car looks like it might be a
Hundreds of farm
Mercury
homes, it
Monterey
means
or
a family
something.
reunion with with children and grandchildren returning to the old
It might
home
have a little
place
bit of
for
a
pheasant hunt
convex
with Dad,
front grill on it.
Grandpa, or Uncle Fred.
Did you see that?
Many farmers
Did you see that?
reserve opening day for old friends.
3 dudes
who
were
have been
sitting
hunting
together in the
for
front
years
seat of that
and
car.
are almost part of the
I mean,
family.
I thought that only
Today,
happens in
we
Germany
have a young
nowadays.
hunter from the new generation taking his place in the company of men. And it's hard to tell who's prouder, the boy or the older hunters who welcome him. Young
Or
Tim
German
is
hunting
lucky.
parties.
He has a new teacher. Else the farmer is an old hand at pheasant hunting. He knows what it takes to put pheasants on the land and what it takes to put them in the game bag.
That's awesome.
Come here, Tim. I have some homework for you. Look this over tonight and mind what it says about safe gun handling and how our retrievers will be working the pheasants. Tomorrow we'll be doing our studying outdoors. Tomorrow is a long
You know,
time
young
away
hunters
when you're 15
need mentors
waiting
like
to go
this
on your
today.
first pheasant hunt.
Sadly,
This isn't
they
just another rabbit
tend to
hunt.
turn to
This is a real
unethical
bird hunt, a
YouTube
man's
personalities
game played
instead.
by men's rules. What's going to happen? Will we see pheasants? Will I get a chance to shoot? And will I be able to hit one of those roosters? If I could get a bird or two, what would Dad say? Well, Tim, we'll see. You never know what's going to happen out pheasant hunting. That's what keeps us coming back for more. But one thing we're pretty sure of, knowing young hunters, it's going to be a long, long night. Finally, the great day. Clear
Farm
and
fresh
cool
eggs.
with
That's what I
just
eat every
enough
morning.
dampness to help the retrievers smell birds. And right after breakfast, Tim gets a quick refresher course in wing shooting from the old master.
Looks like the experienced hunters want to make sure that this kid is squared away
Best
before they
practice
hunt.
in the world.
And I wish more people did this.
That's a little better, son, but get out ahead of it.
Wow, that looks like an original Winchester Model 101.
Swing that
Nice.
gun. That's the way. Now you've got the idea. Reckon you can do that on pheasants?
Looks like even the more
Okay,
experienced
Tim,
hunters are going to get in
let's
some
turn
practice
the
before
claybirds
the
over to
hunt.
these old duffers. A little practice won't hurt them either.
Like I said, I wish
Couple
more
of things
people
I
did
want to
that
show you about
nowadays.
pheasants, and we can't start hunting for a couple of hours yet anyway.
That's an old international truck.
This is one of the reasons
An old
that Else
international
has good
step-side.
pheasant hunting on his place. Plenty of nesting and brood cover for the hens. Without good nesting cover, there can be no pheasant hunting, for it's impossible to harvest a crop if seed can't be planted. Else takes pride in such places. To him, a farm means more than farming. It means knowing the land and what lives there.
This
and
farmer
keeping
just
an eye
does a
on wildlife
fantastic
and
job
helping
of
when he can.
habitat management on his property.
Last spring, he knew of
You know,
8
something
pheasant
that
nests in this
the
small
big
block of
corporate-owned
cover.
farms just don't
It
do
wasn't
nowadays.
just soil bank, it was pheasant bank. And it has paid a lot of interest to Else and his friends.
Another drawback of
Tim,
losing the
over here was one of the biggest
American
pheasant nests
family
I've ever
farmer
seen.
to corporate interests.
It may have been a dump nest where more than one hen laid
That old
eggs,
timer is teaching
and
this
that
kid
little
about
hen
pheasant
sure had their
behavior,
work cut out
something
for
that
her.
many
She
hunters
had
just
16
don't learn
eggs
today.
in that nest, and a dozen of them hatched. I wouldn't be surprised if those are some of the birds that we'll be hunting today. But nesting cover is only part of it. There's another time of year when snow has drifted over the grass cover and weedy fence rows. The pheasant is a pretty rugged old bird, but he's got to have some place to get in out of the weather. Take this old shelter belt of trees and brush. It looks pretty woolly right now, but it's none too thick come February. Game biologists say that birds will travel
Yeah, the
miles to
Dakotas
find
just
cover
get
like
some
this,
brutal
and I
winters
believe
over
it.
there.
I've seen
I've
200
bison hunted
pheasants
in South
these
Dakota, and it was
trees in a winter
just
evening. It's
brutally
one of the
cold.
only places around here where they can find shelter from storms, and I don't know what they would do without it.
Yeah, that looks
Well,
like
that's what pheasants need.
maybe
the
an
most, Jim.
international
There are other things, but if they have good nesting cover and some
C1100?
shelter from winter storms, we'll have birds to hunt. You don't get something for nothing, and you can't raise game without cover. But talk won't put pheasants in mother's oven, so let's go hunting.
Nice of the farmer to take the kid out for a stroll and teach him a thing or two.
The other hunters are waiting. In fact, they've been waiting for about 10 months. Got everything, boys? If you're not ready now, you never will be. Dogs, lunch, shells, and a hard time for the first guy who misses an easy shot. Have you ever noticed you can always tell experienced shooters by the way they handle guns around cars and trucks? These are safe hunters and good ones.
That is the truth.
Guns unloaded and actions opened. They'll load the guns when they're ready to begin hunting, not before.
I miss the days when we'd all pile into the bed of a pickup truck.
Else has been saving a special place to start this hunt, a pocket of weedy cover between picked cornfields and fallow land. Pheasants like to loaf there this time of day after feeding in the cornfields.
Yeah, that's definitely an old International C1100 step-side truck.
Working a place like this, pheasants can play a pretty smart.
My grandfather used to have one of those.
And it can take a lot of air. Pheasants know when they're hidden.
Looks like they're setting up for a game drive.
If they can be seen, they often run for it. But if they're hidden, they like to lie tight. That's one of the reasons for hunting this kind of pheasant country with good retrievers. A retriever can bust through heavy cover like a small truck. And if there are any pheasants around, he will put them up in the air, where you can go to work on them.
Retrievers, those retrievers they're hunting with, are just great dogs for drives like this. You know, and they're just great all-around multi-purpose dogs. The farmer probably waterfowl hunts too.
Okay, let's move into the cover, but take it easy. No, that wasn't a rabbit. There are birds ahead, going into the corner toward the fence. There it is. First action
Good shooting.
of the day. Good shooting. Steady. There may be more where these came from. No need to crowd those birds now. Another rooster. Nice shot.
Nice shot.
One of the best things about retrievers is that they let you do more hunting for birds to shoot and less searching for birds that are down. Watch this. Yon he go, happy and healthy.
It happens.
But our red-eared hunters redeem themselves with another pair of roosters.
Nice.
That's what can happen when there's some good cover.
That
left
place
next
is just
to the
loaded with
cornfields.
birds.
If a farmer protects a few places from the cow, the plow, and the match, those places will produce pheasants in the spring and hunting in the fall.
Look at that. In those days, hunting dogs just had great genetics.
Everybody works in this outfit. That's it. Spread those birds
There's usually
out on the bed of the
guys
truck
like
where
this
they can
breeding
cool.
dogs.
The quicker that pheasants are cool, the better. Once again, that mark of experience, unloading the gun until it's ready to use again. Now that there are some birds in the hand instead of in the bush, how about some lunch?
Everybody unloading
never
their
gets
firearms.
very far from that chow. The time-honored rations of the Midwestern pheasant hunter. A ring of bologna and a chunk of longhorn cheese. Nothing fancy, but
That's
it
the
tastes
good
like a
bologna.
banquet when it's
Back
eaten
when
out on
bologna
a fall
was an
day
actual
and seasoned
sausage.
with laughter,
You know, not
sharp
the
air, and
lunch
tang
meat
of
crap
powder
that they
smoke.
sell at the grocery store nowadays. Farm fresh Longhorn Colby cheese. That's good stuff. That was the staple of Midwesterners' diet back in the day.
It's hard to tell who's most
Good-looking
interested
dogs.
in all this. Some of the dogs or some of the people. But not even food is going to keep Tim from asking questions. And it won't keep Els from answering them. Now's the time for stories, the alibis, the theories.
The old
and
tradition
the
of
advice.
hunt camp shit talking. That's my specialty.
This is when the young hunters learn things that they'll never find in books. The old hunting stories told by the men who lived them. passing on traditions
Cool, another
that
Sweet
they
Jones
themselves
cap.
learned many years ago in places much like this. Are there any lip readers in the house? There aren't? Good. Frank breaks up on that one. When real hunters talk about pheasants and pheasant hunting, you can feel some of their deep respect for this great game bird and the country he lives in. He's a big bird in a big land, and he lives up to his reputation. He's the #1 game bird of the northern prairies, a combination of ruggedness, beauty, shrewdness, and good eating. Old Yeller knows all that.
Look at the muscle tone on those dogs.
Come on, either
I bet they were
feed me
fed
or take
raw
me
meat
hunting.
by that
But let's
farmer.
don't just sit.
Nowadays, Purina tries to tell us that
It's getting
raw
on
meat
into the
is bad for
afternoon now,
dogs,
and Els
so
thinks
we all
it
go
might
out
be
and buy their
smart to hunt a
kibble.
cornfield. Early in the season, pheasants are likely to be almost anywhere at any time of day. They're pretty well spread around in the cover. But at this time of day, they're likely to begin moving into big, weedy cornfields, especially if those fields have grassy waterways and fence rows and shelter belts of
Looks
trees.
like they're setting up another
There are
drive.
different ways of hunting in corn, but the best is the method of drivers and blockers. The blockers walk down the corn rows in an evenly spaced line, moving pheasants out ahead of them. Some birds will flush, and others will run. The blockers wait quietly at the end of the field. The pheasants are caught between hammer and anvil. Running ahead of the drivers, the birds are forced to flush at the end of the field by the blockers. Els likes to let the drivers out
put
first.
the dogs to
This
work.
is a good idea because pheasants seem to quickly sense that there are men in the field. It doesn't make much difference if the birds know the drivers are there, but the presence of blockers should be a military secret.
Notice he didn't load his gun until he was out and in position. Man, I just love that old International truck. Look at that thing work.
Els is going to drive that truck out of sight. Blockers should be quiet and inconspicuous. And that means keeping cars and trucks away from the end of the field. Pheasants can be touchy about such things. This is ideal cover for blockers, a weedy fence line where the hunters can crouch out of sight but still have plenty of room to swing their guns on overhead birds. The drivers are loading up.
That looks
and
like a
getting
Model
ready to
12
head
right
down
there.
the field. There are only
Winchester
3 men
Model
here,
12, my
and
favorite
that's not
shotgun.
enough for a big cornfield, but those 2 retrievers can be the equal of several men. Better get ready, boys. High brass 6s and a 12-gauge
That might
gun.
be the
A
first
good
edition
combination for
of the
cornfield
Winchester Model 1200. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oh, they're all setting up now.
The blockers are stationed and waiting with their gun ranges overlapping. And here come the drivers. Fresh pheasant sign. There are birds around here somewhere.
Hunting in blue jeans. That's sacrilegious today.
Up he goes. A big rooster on a high towering shot. There's another one, Tim, coming toward your ends. Swing that gun. Get out ahead of him. You were behind that bird. You stopped your gun just as you shot. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got
Yep,
that
no
swing.
follow through on that shot.
Hen. There's a rooster. Take him.
That's true.
It doesn't pay to hurry when you're driving pheasants. Take it slow. Even with dogs, the hunters were spread quite thin during their drive, and some birds may have run back around the line or through the line without being seen. Many hunters like to have no more than 4 corn rows between
Good
men.
discipline.
You want to cover as much field as possible, but be close enough together so that you won't miss any birds. If drivers zigzag down a field, they can be fairly far apart, maybe as much as 100 feet. But if they walk straight down the corn rows, as most hunters do, they shouldn't be much more than 30 feet apart. Keep those dogs busy. It's work that they like. There's nothing prouder than a good retriever carrying a bird for the boss. Here's the trademark of the Maine pheasant range. Pheasants and corn like the same kind of country.
That Model
and they thrive
12
together. In South Dakota, corn may be more than half the annual diet of adult pheasants. You did pretty well today, old dog. You managed to keep out of the cockleburs, but get into the pheasants. I reckon I'll keep you. We might even try for a few more birds tomorrow. Next day, the hunters try something a little different. A broad stretch of marsh grass on the edge of a prairie lake. Hunting these heavy marsh edges is usually best in early winter when cold winds have driven pheasants out of thinner cover. It's a little early in the fall for the best shooting in places like this, but a marsh edge...
This farmer probably also waterfowl hunts there.
...during the hunting season. Hey, Frankie, we see your periscope, but where are you? This isn't easy hunting, but whoever said that pheasant hunting was easy? The hunters who bag the most birds year after year...
Always letting the other hunters know where he's at.
...cover and root out their pheasants. You have to hunt ringnecks where they are, not where you want them to be.
That's true.
South Dakota has more pheasants than any other state. But even here, in the pheasant hunter's promised land, you have to earn your birds. Hen bird, let her go.
Great discipline and restraint.
Marsh cover is worth a lot to pheasants. When prairie lakes like this are drained, more than just waterfowl suffer. Pheasants, rabbits, Hungarian partridge, and even deer are left without winter homes. There's the payoff, first bird of the day. That could have been an easy bird to lose without a dog. In pheasant cover like this, a good retriever is almost as necessary as strong legs. The dog will greatly reduce crippling loss. By doing this, he'll give you more birds per hour and more fun per bird. The two blockers are usually located just off the end corners. These men are often the best shots in the group. Be ready for anything in a place like this. A rooster breaks out of the far side and
great shot. That was a fantastic shot.
Long shot. Those blockers know what they're doing. They stay in position even after they see the drivers. You never know what pheasants will do or where they'll do it.
That looks like a Model 59, and those were the first American shotguns with screw-in chokes.
Right here. See, was he dead? Sure he was dead. Looked like it anyway. Get those dogs over here. Dead, dead, dead bird. Hunt him up. Well, look at that, right where we were standing. Else you're a fine shot, but a poor retriever. Sleeping in a warm house has ruined your nose. We're going to have to keep you outside tonight. Across the road is a bigger shelter belt, and it may have more birds. We'll soon find out. The drivers are on their way, and two of the best shots are in position as blockers. Watch this. One.
That was a hell of a shot right there.
Two.
Another great shot. This guy's on point.
3 for 3.
And another great
piece
shot.
of shotgunning. There's good cover at the end of this shelter belt, so there'll probably be some action there. Whenever you can, drive pheasants toward cover. It will usually stop running birds and hold them until you get there. Just
Notice
like
how
that.
they paused before shooting to identify the sex of the
Beautiful
bird.
cover. There has to be something in here. Introducing the star of the Weed Patch
And we got a
Olympics.
runner. We have a runner. Where's the dogs at, man?
That's one way to do it if you're young, hale, and hearty. But the dogs could have done it easier and better. Tim's ready for action, then here it comes.
Great shooting.
Get over there, boy.
Always
Now you
grab
see
your
him?
pheasant by the
Now
neck.
you don't.
You know, never assume they're dead when you go to pick them up.
Well, Tim, you're not going home empty-handed. But those feathers make mighty thin soup. Our hunters have hit the jackpot in this fine grass and weed cover. Elf scores with a clean shot. A good pheasant hunter is usually a cool shooter who takes his time on close birds, especially if he's shooting a tightly choked gun. Watch this. That's the way an expert does it.
Great patience.
In another corner of the field, Tim comes into his own and shows his dad some fancy shooting. Son,
Nice
that was
double.
terrific. As fine a double as I've ever seen. Now it's all over but the remembering and the storytelling. From here on, it's up to the oven and a good cook. But even as the goodbyes are being said, new plans are being
That's
made.
one of those old
There'll
hats
be
where
another October.
they put
There'll be
the
boys
duck stamp
wanting
on
to
the
shoot
front.
and men
That's
wanting
old
to
school
teach
right
them.
there.
And if the men are wise and the land is kind, with some sheltered places in winter
Great
and
video.
some nesting places in spring, there'll be pheasants to hunt.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my first episode of Desert Dogs Movie Night. There'll be more to come, and as always, thank you for watching, and good hunting.